My name is Brock Glover, and I'm a CF dad.
My name is Molly Glover. My husband Brock and I have 2 children. Our daughter JC is 18 years old, and our son Dane is 15 years old, who has cystic fibrosis.
I grew up in San Diego, and like so many other people my generation, I played Pop Warner football, Little League baseball, but the one activity we did as a family was ride dirt bikes. It was something that I did just for the fun, but after a while I decided I wanted to race. That racing took me a long ways. Soon I started winning local races, then I went on to the national circuit, and then I actually raced and competitively around the world. Luckily for me, it ended up getting me with a Hall of Fame career and 6-time national champion. I married my wife Molly in 1994, and we soon started talking about having a family. Our daughter JC came along in 1999, and then soon followed by our son Dane in 2001. As Dane grew older, we just started noticing there was just some few things different.
He was in the 20th percentile. He was small.
His colds would last twice as long as JC's did.
I've never seen so much congestion in a human in my life.
He used twice as many diapers as JC.
It was obvious in the beginning he needed to be held more than his sister.
There was just so many things that just didn't seem right that soon we started asking our pediatrician for some advice. She figured at that point he just had something called toddler diarrhea, and he would grow out of it by the age of 5. So we kept changing lots of diapers and waited until his 5th birthday. And when he didn't grow out of it, at that point, I made another call to the doctor. Pediatrician at that point just said, hey, the only thing we haven't tested for is a disease called cystic fibrosis. So about a week after the test was conducted down at Rady Children's Hospital, our pediatrician called. My wife answered the phone, and I could hear her conversation from just the one side where she was basically saying any time was fine, just for us to come down to her office whenever we could. My wife actually had a very important business meeting up in Orange County, and she asked me if I'd mind going by myself tomorrow, that the doctor wanted to talk to us about something. And as soon as I arrived, I didn't wait in the waiting room more than 30 seconds, and the doctor called me back. She told me that our son had a disease called cystic fibrosis, and that statistically, I'm likely to outlive my own child. At that point, everything else I think she said just only was half registering. She was helping set up some meetings down at a cystic fibrosis clinic down at the Children's Hospital, that we would go down and meet with all sorts of specialists, that there would be a team available for Dane. And I just couldn't get off of the fact that she said that I'm statistically going to outlive my child. It was a moment I'll never forget in my life, and it's still to this day is very raw, and it's very real. So as I got home and tried to wipe the tears out of my eyes, I of course did what everybody tells you never to do, is to go right to the computer and type in cystic fibrosis in Google search bar. I mean, I had to type it slowly because I wasn't even sure how to spell it or if I was spelling it right. I wanted to make sure, like, is this how it's spelled? And the first thing that comes up is the Wikipedia definition. And that's when it tells you about how it's the deadliest genetic disease known to mankind. I couldn't believe it at that point. I was sitting by myself, and I know my wife was hurting just as bad as I was, and she's 100 miles away. And it was something that I couldn't fathom.
Life changed dramatically in more ways than we would ever know.
It was a lifetime of battling a terrible disease.
When Dane was diagnosed, the next Sunday was Mother's Day. Dane loved trains. And Dane was so proud. For me, on Mother's Day, he had built a track, and he told me he wanted to be a train driver when he grew up. And at that point, I hope he has a chance to grow up.
So I quickly learned all about cystic fibrosis. I jumped in full steam ahead, started to find out that not only does it affect the lungs and your digestive tract, but it actually ends up affecting every organ in your entire body.
How could we make sure it wasn't the same for him, that his destiny would be different?
We met with a pulmonologist, we met with a CF specialist, we met with a social worker, we met with a respiratory therapist, a nutritionist. There were so many people involved with this team that it was almost overwhelming.
We were told about the history of cystic fibrosis and that this is a good time, that there's a cure on the horizon in possibly 5 years. And Dane heard that. And it was a common question for Dane to ask. When is it the 5 years up? When is this going to happen? And one time after a sinus surgery, Dane woke up during the night, not feeling well. And he said, when can I expect this to all stop? When is this going to be cured? Some time passed that, and I realized Dane stopped asking. He doesn't ask anymore.
Cystic fibrosis is not just a disease that affects one person either. It affects the entire family. Everything we do as a family is something with cystic fibrosis in the background. If Dane were to contract a difficult strain of a flu or a very difficult cold, it could either be hospitalization or worse. It could actually kill him.
That's the thing about cystic fibrosis. It's progressively fatal. People are doing their best to take good care of themselves, to do their treatments correctly. They're doing everything they can, and still they're sick.
To me, CF is hard to describe, but I've grown up most of my life having it. So when I was little, it was like normal to me as I've grown up to do these things. And it almost would feel weird to not be doing them.
Dane's morning really starts the night before when we have to make sure his medications are out and ready.
Well, I have to get up very early, about 5:30 in the morning, to start off my day. When I first wake up, I drink something called Miralax, just to help my body when I have to use the restroom in the morning, because that can be hard. Then I do something called a sinus rinse to help clear out my nose. After that, I move on to my best treatments, which is first a Pro Air inhaler on a vortex attachment, because without it, it's found that if you just breathe with the inhaler, it can't be as effective. And we want to be as effective as possible with it. Because my body can't naturally digest food, I have to use enzymes to help my body with it. Because if I eat without them, it won't count as a real meal. In my afternoon routines, what I like to do to make my treatments more fun is I'll play video games with my friends, and you can use things like Skype to talk with them in video chat to have more fun. We all have a party.
One of the most important things that happened during our initial meeting was the mentioning of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. After coming down to the San Diego chapter and meeting with the people, I realized their passion to try to help create not only funds, but the whole mission is to control this disease or actually eliminate it. Unlike other charities where sometimes only 10 cents out of every dollar you donate actually goes to help the cause, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is exact opposite.
There's a part of, I think, most families, they think, is this something that we need to stay private about, or is this something we need to talk about? And it was in that room where he became like, I can't stay private. I have to do this. I have to speak out.
I had to make a decision at that point. You know, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit on the sidelines and just let everybody else do the work, or am I going to actually jump in and do something to help save my child's life? So I reached out first to the community that I grew up with in the motorcycling community and created a couple of events called the Breathe Easy Rides. My original intention was just really to bring awareness to cystic fibrosis. I thought so many people in the world, just like myself, had no idea what cystic fibrosis was all about and what this disease entailed.
The awareness that people would say, you can make a difference in the lives of so many people, and you can extend the lives of people who don't think they have a future. The first breakthrough with Orkambi, there was a CFer I read. She said, I think I need to start saving for retirement. I've never saved in my life. Such a mindset is just like not part of this disease.
Before CF, I had many hopes and dreams for my son, but right now my main dream is that he's going to outlive me. Life expectancy has now increased up to the age of 41, but when Dane was diagnosed in 2007, that life expectancy was only 36. Because cystic fibrosis is classified as an orphan disease, it doesn't get a lot of attention from the government. So who's left to support Cystic Fibrosis Foundation? It's people like you and me and other grassroots efforts. There's been major breakthroughs in drugs and treatments for cystic fibrosis, driven primarily from funds raised at events just like tonight's. The first two Breathe Easy Ride events raised over $200,000. Our Great Strides team, which is also driven by a lot of people from the motorcycling community, have done well over $100,000, but we're not done yet.
There's still so many people out there that need help. People with cystic fibrosis want to have the chance to do everything that we all do every day.
I'm inviting each and every one of you to join Team Dangerous and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in the ultimate race against CF.